And good evening, race fans, and welcome to beautiful Daytona International Speedway. I'm John Mushin Jr. Beside me in the booth tonight is Don Ruckle Jr. Did I get that right?
Yeah, Don Ruckle Jr. I think that's it.
I almost called you Don Rickles. Anyway, and in the production booth is Aaron Gross-Scott bringing these beautiful pictures we have tonight here at Daytona Speedway. We are doing the Transervice Cup Series with the Sim500 tonight. The Daytona 250. We got 100 laps of racing coming at you, 250 miles on this beautiful Daytona track. And to tell you what, Don, I'm getting really excited about this, man. It's time. Let's get this series started. What do you think?
It's time to go. We had the duels last week. We got the grid set. We're ready to go. Yeah, we're at the high banks of Daytona International Speedway. I'm ready to see some racing here.
Well, on that note, let's run through our top 10 real quick. Inside pole winner who won the qualifying event and I think did pretty doggone good for a little while in his duel. Trey Edson in that 40 car. Outside row 1, Chad Coleman in the 20.
In spot number 3, we're going to have Dave Comstock, and right next to him is going to be Sean Bounty.
Inside row 3, Nicholas Cohan in the 21. Outside of him, Anthony DeBarro in the 27.
Row 4, you're going to have Justin Fuller in the number 11. And next to him is going to be Dwayne Vincent.
And finally, row 5 is going to be Josh Parker and Timothy Johnson. However, Josh Parker was given a penalty for dropping below the yellow lines in the duels. They didn't catch it in time at the end of the race, so he was penalized tonight. He'll be dropped to the back of the line, which is going to move somebody up in a nice spot there. And another note that we have here is that Michael Keaton in that 7 car, he'll be starting tonight in place of Brian Workman. Brian decided he would rather go spend time with Mickey Mouse than his fellow competitors here in the Sim500 guys. So I tell you what, Don, it's some great weather, man, and I'm looking forward to this. Why don't we pull up Ben, our normal announcer? We'll pull him up and talk to him for a second. He's running one of these cars tonight.
Let's see. Yeah.
Ben, John up in the booth. You got me?
I got you, John. How you doing?
Well, here we go, buddy. We're rolling out and getting ready to do this thing. You ready for it?
I'm as ready as I'm ever going to be. Don't know what to expect yet, but we're going to go with what we got, and hopefully we'll be at the front in 40 or so laps.
So what's your strategy going to be? You going to lay back and let all the wrecks happen, or are you going to try and get up there and mix it up?
I said I wasn't going to be conservative. Away from my political views, I'm going straight to the front here in Daytona.
All right, my friend. Well, look, you get ready for this thing. Buckle up and tighten them belts up and clean them tires off, and we'll see you at the end of this thing, right?
Thanks, guys. Have fun.
And no earlier. I want to make sure you do the whole race.
There you go.
Good luck.
Thanks, guys.
There you have it, Ben Kilcrease, our very own Ben Kilcrease right there. He's rolling out, oh gosh, way back in the field, 34th there. And I tell you what, Don, here we go. The cars are coming off of turn 4 there. The pace cars are going to duck down on pit lane, and we're about to go green, my friend.
Yeah, I can't wait for this. It's going to be a great race here at Daytona.
And they're off. The green flag is out, and we are racing. Always such a fun time watching these guys run, Don, but I tell you what, this is something we expected to see. Single file racing up front on that bottom line. We call them the bottom feeders. Until the tires get warmed up enough, these cars get stable enough to get that outside line moving. We're probably going to see a lot of this for a little while. It's a long race.
Oh, you're definitely going to see a lot of catfishing going on early on in the race. These guys are just going to kind of get sorted out, feel each other out. They got a lot of racing left to go, and 100 laps here at Daytona. I mean, they want to keep their cars clean and running good all the way to the end.
That's right. They have no fast repairs, so damage here is critical to keep to a minimum because you want to keep those fenders straight and as aerodynamic as you possibly can. We got a long race. We talked about this earlier. It's 100 laps. They're good on fuel for about 40 to 43 laps, I think was what we were told. So there's going to be maybe 2 stops, hopefully, just 2 stops, and hopefully they'll be on the green. And green flag pit stops, just period, for this group of guys has been heartbreak for a lot of them. There's just so many mistakes they've made on pit road, speeding, sliding through the pits. We haven't seen anything like what we saw in the real life Daytona 500 yesterday, but it has been the bane of the race for these guys.
Yeah, definitely. Any mistakes on pit road transfer onto the track big time. It's real easy to lose a lot of time and spots on pit road, whether it be a speeding penalty, sliding through your pits, not getting positioned right, maybe just not having a good pit stop period. That can transfer to a lot of different spots here on the track, especially at a super speedway like Daytona.
Oh, absolutely. And if you do it under green, it's an even bigger catastrophe, because 9 times out of 10, you're pitting with some dancing partners, some drafting partners. And if you screw something up in the pits, they're gone, you're not. And once you do come out, you're by yourself out of the draft.
And it goes both ways, actually. You can actually gain a lot of spots also on pit road if you have a really good pit stop. If you like you were saying, you can get in there with friends, you can get out there in a draft and, not have to kind of fight through any kind of cars or whatever. If you can get in and out pretty clean, then, you can actually gain a lot of spots too. So,
well, right now we're looking at some single file racing all the way back to about 12th, it looks like, is where we have our first double file group of drivers, and it looks like it's going to be Anthony and Colantoni on the outside there. He's got a little bit of help behind him in the form of, looks like Kevin DeBrown from the Crossover Motorsports. And I tell you what, we haven't seen a whole lot of Kevin lately. He's just kind of one of those quiet drivers, Don.
Yeah, I mean, just kind of making his presence known, maybe quiet, waiting for a moment to pounce and everything else, but it's definitely not somebody we've been talking about too much tonight.
And as we say that, look at this, man. We got some guys making it up high there. Don looking for some power moves on the outside, trying to make some sort of a race out of this already. Lap 5 of 100, and we got the 34 car up there on that high side. That's Sean Boundy, and he's got help. And then we got, it looks like guys jumping down to the bottom, then jumping back up to the top, and it looks like somebody's about to get hung out to dry there on the very high line, the third line there.
Yeah, it looks like it's going to be the hitman himself, Nick Thames. That was looking, I think that's who it was that was getting left out on the high side up there.
Yeah, he got it. He was able to duck that back down in front of the 24 car of Scott Stenzel right there, so he didn't get hung out. Boy, that's a helpless feeling when you're the only guy on the line and everybody's just trucking on by you.
Well, another thing, you notice a lot of those guys were kind of fanning out, and you saw guys making jerky movements there, changing lanes. It's kind of hard to, you can't really read the mind of the driver around you, whether they're going to change lanes in front of you or duck in front of you or behind you. So sometimes some of those shaky, those real quick decisions and movements like that can kind of shake up the field a little bit and check things up.
I'll tell you what, that jerky movement you're talking about, that's something they can get away with now, but later in this race, around lap 30, 35, when those tires are really old and slick and they're low on fuel, that car will definitely get away from them if they try to maneuver like that at that point.
Yeah, it's harder to make those movements the further on the run you go. And, tires don't take as much of account as they do at other tracks. Here, the tire wear is not as bad, but definitely later on in the run, they can get slick. As you see Sean Bounty trying to make that run on the high side again. They're trying to make that work up there.
Well, we touched on that earlier. That high line will come in eventually, but you're going to have more than 2 or 3 cars backing you up. You're going to have kind of what's developing right now, a whole 10, 12 car length line of guys that are going to be up there helping you push, and they've got to commit to it. We saw this a lot in the Xfinity race last night. You can't have some guy come up there and just half-ass push you and then decide he's going to drop back down. Once you're up there with somebody, you got to stick up there with them. That's the only way you're going to make it work.
Yeah, and that's the problem. You got to be able to commit up there, and you don't know if the guys are going to commit. You don't know if somebody behind you is going to maybe push you up there, and then just enough to either maybe find an opening down low and gain some spots just for themselves or what. But right now, those guys are side by side. You can see them. They're about 5 cars deep side by side, all the way back to Nick Cohan in the 21 car.
And that top pack is led by 11 of Justin Fuller. He has no problem running that high side. We saw that last night in the Xfinity race also. And he's got help there with Sean Boundy, and looks like Nick Timms is up there with him. Scott Stenzel's up there. And that last car line, I'm having a hard time seeing it from here. But he's got some help. He's got 5 cars, and then it's a little further back to the next group of cars that are up high. But he might get some more help coming up here port shortly.
Yeah, look, they're trying to make that high side work, and you're right. Fuller's got no problem running up high there. I've raced with Fuller at Super Speedway tracks before. I do believe he actually pushed me to a win one time, and he's definitely not scared to run that high line. Nick Thames, in the 51 car, he's another guy that's not afraid to be a little aggressive and run that high line up there.
Well, right now, Fuller has just got his hands full down there with Trey Edson. He gets ahead by about 2 feet, but not enough to clear him, and then Edson powers back on the inside, and we're going to see that a lot. It's kind of like an accordion effect there. In the meantime, this whole pack still, believe it or not, 2 by 2 by 2, but we got one poor soul way back in the back who seems to have lost the draft, and that's the number 1 of Chris Cabot.
Yeah, he lost the pack back there, but you know what? Hey, if as long as he hangs in there, it'll probably take a while for him to lose if he, loses a lap, but at least he'll be the lucky dog. I'm sure there'll be a big one. We always talk about the big one here at Daytona, so he might have a chance to get that lap back.
Yeah, I'm sure he will. I mean, there's for sure there's gonna be a caution eventually. It's just a matter of not being a part of it. In the meantime, back up front here, it looks like Fuller's lost just a little bit of that head of steam he had, but he's got a 6th car now up there in line with him. I should say a 5th car that has joined him in his line of 5. However the hell you want to say it, I'm not real sure. You know what I'm trying to say. He's got more help is what I'm saying. And it looks like he's just still going to try and ride that high line up there and try and get that thing to work a little bit better for him, try and get that lead away from Trey Edson. In the meantime, Edson still holds down his lead. And, oh, look at that. Fuller bails on that outside line. That's what I was talking about earlier there, Don. Sometimes these guys just get fed up with it and jump back down the inside line.
It wouldn't surprise me if he tries to jump back up high, too, if he sees Bounty getting ahead of steam. But, no, he's down there now. He's kind of trapped down there now. But, yeah, we were talking about that. Some guys, they just don't feel like the high side's staying organized enough. And the thing is, the guys on the high side kind of have to squeeze those guys down on the low side down in the corners. They kind of got to get that side draft in the corners. And sometimes if the guys on the low end aren't holding their line, or maybe the guys on the high side feel like they're moving around too much, they might feel a little uncomfortable doing that side draft, which can maybe lose that momentum on the high side. And I think that's the problem right now. I don't think that high side's quite organized enough.
They're not. They're really not. And the 51 keeps poking his nose out. I don't know if he's overheating or if he's thinking about taking it 3 wide, but he keeps poking his nose out, which is kind of acts like a parachute. It creates a lot of drag on that outside line and slows them down. So they keep doing that. They're going to continue to lose ground to that inside line. Yeah,
I'm looking at these guys. They're, the high side's pretty much like half a lane up too high most of the time in the corner. And like I said, I don't think it's helping them to carry that momentum around the corner. That's the key about the high side, is you got to be able to carry that momentum around through the corners on the high side, and they just don't appear to be able to do that right now.
Not right now, but maybe they'll get together here soon. I tell you what, they call this the Great American Race, and I'd have to agree. This is probably, when you talk about American racing, you think the Daytona 500. It's one of the biggest races, if not the biggest race we have all year. And I was just looking through the field, and I tell you what, somebody took that whole American race thing to heart. And that's the 83 car of Jason Barham. Look at this thing. It's red, white, and blue. It's a beautiful looking car. And I tell you what, somebody just blew up. It looks like I saw a puff of smoke right there from him. And we've got to spin the 6 cars up on the wall. And he's going to take a few guys with him, it looks like. About 3 or 4 cars got involved in that. It looks like he blew his motor. I'm not real sure. We can get the replay up here shortly.
Yeah, look at that car we were actually looking at might have got a little bit of damage on the back of it. That Jacobson Barham car might have got involved in that wreck there as you were looking at that paint scheme.
That's affirmative. He did indeed get a little bit of damage, but it looks like the 6 car blew up right there. And, that's a shame. I'll tell you what, that right there is a product, folks, of just pushing somebody too long and not letting your car breathe. And he took out a lot of good cars right there. It looks like the 14 of Joey Jattina was involved in that. The 4 of Robert Gillenwater was involved in that. We already covered Jason Barham's involvement. And it looks like another car involved was a 23 of Josh Parker, who was up in the top 10 for qualifying purposes, but again was given the black flag. So that brings us under caution for the first time tonight. And unfortunately involved a lot of good cars back there. These are probably guys, Don, that were laying back and just waiting for stuff like this to happen so they didn't get involved in an accident. And unfortunately, they were involved in the accident.
Yeah, here at the Super Speedway tracks, anywhere that you can possibly be at, you can be in a wreck in the front, the back, anywhere it could happen. And as you saw, man, victim of maybe drafting too tightly there and blowing a motor.
Yeah, and that's something we might see again if these guys aren't too careful. In the meantime, it looks like pit road's open. Let's see if we have any takers now or if these guys are going to stick to some sort of a fuel plan. What do you think?
It's kind of early to tell. I wouldn't be surprised if a few guys try to top off so they may be able to get a longer fuel run going. But I think these guys up front might stay out just for the track position. But who knows? I mean, we never know what might happen. Looks like the front's – it looks like pretty much everybody's coming in.
I was just about to say, it looks like everybody's going to come in and take advantage and get some fuel, some tires. Or maybe they won't get tires and just fuel only. But we're going to wait and see here. And we're going to let these pit stops cycle through, and we'll see who wins that race off of pit road.
Yeah, you definitely probably see some guys either taking no tires, 2 tires, 4 tires. I think we're going to see that right now. Trey Etzen looked like he's definitely taken at least 2. Oh, looks like Justin Fuller, or no, the 20 of Chad Coleman looks like he might have taken 2 tires.
Yep, and I tell you what, our leader, he lost a couple of spots there. Well, folks, we're going to let this shake out. I'll let these guys come around and scoring, and we'll catch up, and we're going to take a quick commercial break, but don't worry, you won't miss a thing. We're going to be side by side, and we'll be right back with these messages.
All right, Watson, let's analyze the chemicals in this cigarette smoke. Cadmium?
Check.
Formaldehyde?
Check.
Arsenic?
Sir, isn't arsenic what they used in rat poison?
Yeah, isn't arsenic what they used in rat poison?
Oh, what was I thinking, sir? It's not like we're gonna smoke them.
Neither will the rats.
Tobacco is no joke. Cigarette smoke has over 7,000 chemicals. Learn more at thefactsnow.com.
The most realistic online racing sim ever made. This is iRacing. Detailed laser scan tracks, fully dynamic real world cars, and over 50 series to choose from. 6 online world championships offering over $100,000 in annual prizes. This is the original esport racing game. This is iRacing.
And welcome back to Daytona. The lights are off in the pace car. We're going back green here shortly, and there's been a little bit of a shakeup up top there, Don. We were talking about it before we went to break. Some guys might gamble and take no tires, and sure enough, Chad Coleman and Sean Bounty are 2 guys that went in, took fuel only, putting Trey Etzen back there in 3rd.
Yeah, some pit strategy definitely got into the front there and shook things up a little bit.
And as we've seen, passing is kind of difficult at this point in the race. It's a little early still, and so I look for Trey maybe just to sit back and take it easy and run back there in that low line in 3rd place. He'll be down where he wants to be. No sense in getting crazy with it.
Yeah, we've seen Sean Bounty in the 34. You know, he's in the front row on the high side. We saw him working the high side earlier. You know, he had some help before from Justin Fuller on the high side, which is they're paired up right now. So maybe they can make something happen on this restart and get by those leaders and then maybe drop down.
Yeah, I tell you what, it's going to be fun to watch. I want to see what Bounty can do on that outside lane. He's no stranger to making things happen up there on the outside lane. Well, I'll tell you what, folks, we're about to come to the green here. The pace car is about to drop off the track. And when we go back to green right here, we're going to do our own version of cranking everything up loud and disturbing the neighbors. We're going to turn it up when they go back to green. Pace car is off. They're coming down to the start line now, and the start finish line, and they're green. There you have it, folks. Our very own version of Turn It Up here at the Sim Racing Network. We're broadcasting now across a wide spectrum of social media. You can find us on Twitch, Twitter, Facebook, and YouTube. All you got to do is search for the Racing Network. I'm sorry, the Sim Racing Network, and you'll be able to watch us on pretty much whatever platform you prefer. Myself, I'm digging the YouTube. I like the YouTube platform. Don, how about you?
I'm kind of a Twitch guy myself. I broadcast on there, and I kind of, watch you guys when I'm not doing this. I watch you guys on there, so kind of a Twitch guy myself, actually. So
So you're a twitcher, are you?
I'm a twitcher. Yeah, I'm twitching around. Too much coffee.
That, man. Exactly.
I twitch.
You need to cut your caffeine down a little bit. In the meantime,
that's right.
We've got a race here to talk about. What do you think about this, man? Bounty got dumped by Fuller again. That's I don't know about you, man, but I remember people who do that to me. If I'm pushing you and we get up to a few spots and all of a sudden you ditch me, I'm going to remember that later on.
I do too. I'm the same way. I remember that too. If you do that to me, I remember later on in the race. And he's done that to Sean twice now. So, I'm sure it's something he's going to remember, but he can't do nothing about it right now. Right now he's got the 88 and Nick Solomon pushing him on the high side, and they haven't quite been able to get past that second row. Chad Coleman's just hanging down low and sitting pretty and got that clean air in front, and he's loving it right now.
Well, it goes back to what we talked about earlier in the show. I mean, that second row is so disorganized right now. We've got 4 cars, and you got 1 car by himself, then a couple cars behind him. They've got to get up there to each other and get nose to tail, and therein lies the problem. This new package that iRacing came out with, I don't know what they did, but the Cup car, the draft package is horrible. It doesn't suck up now like it used to, and I don't care what setup you're running, whether it's fixed setup or the VRS setup. For some reason, you really got to have somebody right behind you to push you to suck up to the pack in front of you.
Yeah, this draft package, I've heard a lot of drivers, in Sim500 league and a bunch of leagues talking about the Cup car package, and they really don't like it. They're not sure what, the build just didn't get it right. And pretty much the only way you can really draft here and suck up, and you'll see a few of these guys doing it, we've talked about it in the duels, is these guys kind of have to offset themselves a little bit. You almost want to put the insignia of your car kind of offset to the side of the guy in front of you, and you can really suck up. But the problem is it's not consistent, and it just doesn't work as good as it does in the B class and then in trucks. And it definitely affects the racing here. But you can see Sean Bounty on the outside. He's making the pass work. I'm not sure if he's going to dump Nick there. He definitely did.
Yeah.
He definitely did. We were just talking about Fuller dumping him, and he definitely did. He's not going to make any friends that way, but hey, he's in the lead right now, and he got in front of Chad Coleman, so we got a new leader out front.
He's leading the Daytona 250, baby. What more can you ask for? And it's a huge thing to lead this thing. But is he going to keep that lead? Because look at this on the outside. That Highline still got a lot of good organization to it, and he didn't. When he ducked down, they didn't lose a whole lot of their speed there.
They didn't, and sometimes it breaks the momentum when that guy in the front ducks down like that, because then the next guy hits that wall of air. But they're sitting pretty organized there. They're 5 deep, side by side. Sean Bounty's on the inside here. I'm sure he's loving this TV time he's getting right now. And if he stays down there, he'll be good. But like we were saying before, Nick in that 88, he might remember what Sean did to him there.
Absolutely. Now behind them, up in that high line, is what I'm trying to say. You got Nick Solomon, like you said, in that 88 car. Then you've got Anthony M. Calantoni in that 84. Behind him is Dwayne Vincent, the 13. Behind Dwayne is Nick Tane, somebody we talked about earlier. And then behind Nick, it looks like Mitch Rollo's up there, our very own Mitch Rollo, another producer here at SRN. But he's finally got himself some help sneaking in the picture there in that 24 car, Scott Stinsel. Oh, and as I say that, Scott and Mitch both dug down to the inside, and it looked like Scott had thoughts about jumping back to the outside, and he does right there. And that's what we were talking about earlier, Don. These guys don't commit to a certain line. They'll jackrabbit. They'll leapfrog up is what I'm trying to say. Get a couple of spots on that outside, then duck back down in. Kind of like what we saw in the real life racing, but they were doing it on the inside road. Everybody was up on the high side, single file, and you'd see guys like Joey Logano come up, side draft somebody, and we got 2 cars peeling off to come down pit road.
Oh, I was looking at the front. We got a lead change up here again. Looks like Chad Coleman went to the outside, literally just went to the outside, had Nick push him, and went right to the front again like it was nothing.
Yeah, that caught me off guard, those guys pitting, but you're right. That's what I was talking about, leapfrogging. And we were seeing that in the real life race as well. Joey Logano would come up, side draft somebody, slow them down, pick their spot off, and then, jump back up in line. And that's what we're seeing, but kind of like the reverse here. It's happening on the outside line.
Yeah, I mean, usually you kind of see that in the back because you got guys that are in the back. They kind of are trying to fight and work their way up to the front. Usually in the front, these guys are kind of content to stay where they're at. But like you said, we're seeing a lot of side-by-side racing up here. And if you'll notice, that high side is actually kind of tightening their lineup a little bit to the low end. Looks like they're doing a little bit more side drafting there. I think that's what's helping Nick get that good run there next to Chad Coleman.
Yeah, that side draft is real in sim racing, believe it or not. It's real in real life, but it's real here too. And if you do it just right, it's very helpful in helping you gain spots, especially at the tracks like Daytona and Talladega. In the meantime, we've got a real tight race up there, and like you said, the 88, he's got a little bit of help there behind him, but I don't think he's got enough, because as you see, that 51 car of Nick Thames, he's definitely fallen back. He's got off the bumper of the 13, and now he's down on the inside line. So it's just, you know, commitment, Don. That's what it's all about.
Well, you know,
they got to put a ring on it.
Yeah, definitely. And not only that, it's just you know, putting your car in the right position. I mean, we saw Sean Bounty. You know, he clawed and kicked and scratched his way on the outside to be able to get into the lead. He got in the lead. It wasn't, you know, very long lived. And then Chad Coleman, we saw him. He made it look so easy. He just literally passed him like it was, you know, like he could have did it anytime he wanted to. So I don't know. I mean, this is plate racing, but a lot of these guys really know how to work this air.
Absolutely, and it's about timing also. I mean, there's certain spots on the track where if you have the momentum going just right and you jump out and you can carry that around the guy in front of you. I've done it a few times myself, but it's all about timing. You got to do it in the right spot. If you jump out the wrong time and you have too far to go to pass somebody, it's just not going to work. But like you said, that outside line is definitely packing it up there. We got almost 8 cars now. Oh, big checkup right there. Big checkup.
Yeah, a lot of guys are moving around right there. Look like Nick Thames was kind of thinking about making that 3 wide there, but you know, Hitman thought better of it and got back in line on the high side there.
Well, back there behind Nick, you'll see the 24, the 96, and the 93 of Kevin DeBrown and Mitch Rollo. Those 2 guys in those 2 cars are teammates at Crossover Motorsports. They're hooked up now, and you know, that's what you need, man. You need a dancing partner. You need friends out here. You need somebody to stick with you and make the moves you make. And go the places you go. So we'll see how that develops for those 2. In the meantime, up front, I'll tell you what, we're going to be on board here with Kevin DeBrown. His name's actually Kevin Brown. I should stop doing that, but I call him DeBrown. But if you look slightly behind Kevin there, once we go back to a live shot, you'll see the 00 down there on the inside. That's another one of their teammates down there. That's Ben Kilcrease. And I'm not sure if Kevin's dropping back to get, you know, Ben's help there or what's going on, but he's definitely fallen off of Mitch's bumper. And wow, another good check up there. I don't know what's going on. Oh, we got a slow car up high. That's what it is. It's Joey Jatini in that 14. A lot of heavy damage from that incident earlier. So he's going to make things kind of tight going through the turns there, Don.
Yeah, he's just trying to run for points now, trying to salvage his day. But yeah, it looks like the low sign was checking up just a little bit there. Sometimes you don't want to be too close to the guy in front of you. You want to space it out. So, you know, going through the corner, there is a little bit of a checkup in that low side most of the time.
Well, yeah, we've already seen why. I mean, you get this car overheated, it's going to go up in smoke on you, literally. We saw that happen in the 6 car earlier. That's what brought out that earlier caution. When he blew up, unfortunately, he was on the high side, and he took a few cars with him. So you got to watch your temperature gauges on here also. 55% tape, I believe, is what they're running. So there's not a whole lot of air getting through that hole down there. So when you're running up behind somebody, you really got to be careful not to overheat. In the meantime, up front, we've got another lead change. Nick finally got himself enough steam to get down there and pass the leader, and of course he jumps right down the inside and ditches that 84 of Anthony Calanzoni, leaves him just out to dry.
Yeah, we've seen that a lot today. A lot of guys just on that outside work their way up there. You know, I mean, that's not going to work too good for those guys. They're not going to help each other up there anymore if that keeps happening. Those guys are going to remember that.
Oh, you know, I have come to expect that in plant track racing. When I'm the car that's on the outside and leading, you know, pushing somebody to the lead there, I know he's going to ditch me. I'm not even disappointed when it happens anymore.
Yeah, it is to be expected. I'm not going to lie. I've done it a few times myself.
Yeah, I think, honestly, let's be honest, we probably all have, you know. I mean, it's the lead, definitely, man. You know, you know that inside line is strong, and if you get a chance to get down there in the lead and take it and get down on that yellow line and lead the pack for a while, you're going to take it, man, especially when the points are an issue here. And this is a season opener. This is for points. All the points you can get are going to matter towards the end of this thing.
This is Daytona. This is the Great American Race. Of course you want to be up front.
Absolutely. In the meantime, we got some shuffling going on back there. Looks like Nick Thames has dropped down to the bottom again, and we've got another slow car up on the high side. That's that 4 car. Another one that was involved in the incident earlier. That's Robert Jonewater. It's sad to see some guys so beat up so early in this race, but here we are, lap 31 out of 100, Don. And so far, it's been a pretty doggone good race. And look at that. We got Sean Bounty jumping back up to the outside there, hoping to use that momentum that Nick Thames and them have developed on the high line to maybe move his way back up front.
Yeah, he's been making that high side work all night, and Nick Thames has been out there. You know, he hasn't been afraid to be up there and working that high side too. So, look like they're gaining some momentum. Got a good head of steam here. Might be able to work something out here going into turn 1.
It looks like it. If Thames can get up on the back bumper of Bounty there in that 34, they might be able to do something here. He's got a whole lot of help behind him. In the meantime, I'm not real sure. When did we pit last? It's been a few laps, hasn't it?
It was right after the caution, I believe it was. So let's see. They're probably not going to be due for another pit
Oh, yeah,
stop.
it's only been 14 laps.
Yeah.
I was just trying to think maybe these guys are starting to get a little bouncy because the fuel's starting to burn off, and that's when things really get dicey and exciting out there. In the meantime, look at that. Wow, huge push that Thames gives the 34 there, but not quite enough to clear the 88 down low, so he's still going to keep trying. And I'm not real sure if Nick's trying to poke his nose out there and make it 3 wide or not. Not yet anyway, huh?
I wouldn't think he would be, but Nick, he can be a little aggressive. I think he's maybe trying to get some air to that car, help him suck up a little bit to Sean, and he's definitely getting some momentum there on the high side on the leader. And, like I said, Nick's definitely not afraid to run on the high side. He's a great drafter. The thing is, you can bump draft in the straightaways, but you definitely don't want to do that in the corner.
Oh, no, that's always a bad idea. I don't care what car you're driving out here. Bump drafting in corners usually results in a couple of bent fenders. But I think you're right there. I think he's, A, trying to breathe his car, and B, that's how you draft here. You offset that car left to right, the one in front of you, and it really helps you suck up. So in the meantime, folks, we're going to kind of give you a rundown here of the top 10 real quick, even though it pretty much changes every quarter of a lap here at Daytona. Right now, your leader is, well, he was Sean Bounty last time by. You got Nick Solomon up there, Sean Bounty, Chad Coleman, Nick Thames, Trey Edson, Anthony Calantoni, Justin Ford, Dwayne Vincent, Dave Comstock, Lionel Callisto. That's your top 10 right now. That could change in about 5 seconds. It does like that at the super speedway usually. But, I was talking about those crossover motorsports guys earlier. Back there, you got Mitch Rollo, Ben Kilcrease, and Kevin Brown, and they have found each other. They are nose to tail on that outside line. And Chad Cole's up there somewhere as well. He's another member of the crossover motorsports group. They're making that high line work there. As you see Mitch, Ben, and Kevin all in a line right there behind that 24, Scott Stenzel.
Yeah, I mean, they, like we were talking about before, if you get a group of friends, you guys can, if they can talk on a separate channel, be able to communicate with each other so they can plan moves, plan pit stops, then you can definitely, take advantage of that as opposed to these guys that are running by themselves and don't really have any friends out there. So, you don't have to worry about it as much as we saw guys, kind of being hung out to dry and guys getting pushed on the high side of the lead and then leaving that guy out. You won't see that as much with team racing.
Well, Chad Cole is part of that crossover incorporated motorsport, I should say. He's in that group well, but he's not up there with his teammates. He got a little bit of left side damage, it looks like. So he's stuck back here with some damaged vehicles that were involved in that earlier wreck. That's an unfortunate thing to be damaged so early in the race, but it is what it is. It's part of being in Daytona. And in the meantime, up front, our leaders are catching up to, I can't tell if that's a pack of cars that are maybe all lapped down, or is that damaged cars? What is that up there?
I'm not sure. I do know that Chad Coleman got the lead again. He just got it again, which is nothing new. He's been doing that pretty much all night. It might have been those guys that pitted earlier. I remember you said a couple guys peeled off earlier and pitted.
Yep, that's exactly what it is. I don't see any damage on these guys, so these guys are probably all in a different pit strategy as far as fuel mileage what it goes. But they're getting caught by the leaders right now, even though that's a 7-car pack right there. They're double wide and they're slowing themselves down. If they would get single file, they would probably be able to put some gap between themselves and the leaders. But I'll tell you what, Don, this is going to make things real hairy for our race leaders coming up on them in a hurry here.
Well, the thing is, the race leader will catch these guys, and these guys will probably stay side by side. So these guys will be like, in front of the leaders here drafting. They're not damaged, so they can stay up to speed and everything. But these guys can also go longer on fuel than the leaders, are. So, and unless a caution comes out, it'll kind of sort itself out when the leaders pit. But as of right now, those guys are still running side by side up there. So, I have to see what happens when the leaders catch them.
And in that pack, it looks like we got Nicholas Cohan, Anthony DeBarro, Timothy Johnson, James Pasquarella, Shane Ewing, Steve Gottschalk, and Gabe Perry. A couple of those guys were involved in the earlier incident, but
I'm telling you right now, it's a team thing. Just by those names that you just said, all those guys are in the same Team Speak channel. That's Dizzy Motorsports and Steel Horse guys that are all working together right there. They must have all planned that, pitting early, and I can guarantee you, every one of those guys right there are all talking to each other on Team Speak.
Absolutely, and I tell you what, Don, the leader has caught him, so we're going to have to see how this pans out. Are they going to stay double wide? Are they going to all go high and let the leaders go by? Or what's going to happen here? Is somebody behind Chad Coleman in the lead? Are they going to take advantage of this and maybe try and draft up past him? Look, here we go. Edson looks like he's going to do just that. He's going to see if he can use these guys as a pick. He gains at least one spot on the 88, but I think Coleman saw him coming and jumped up there to put the block on.
Yeah, definitely. And this is going to be a little hairy. I mean, these leaders, they're upset. Obviously, they're like, hey, we're the leaders. But, you know, these guys up front of them, they have every right to race too. They're not damaged. They're not holding up the field. This is pack racing. This is how it is with super speedway racing. And, you know, these leaders, that's kind of have to deal with it. You know, part of racing is dealing with lap cars, and at super speedways, it's no different.
I'm willing to bet if we could hear the 88 right now, he'd have some very colorful words to say, because he is stuck down there on that inside line. He is losing spots to his competitors that are on the same lap as he is, and actually nobody's going anywhere right now. We got DeBarro up there on the high line leading the 77 to 91 of Gottschalk in front of him, and that's where the current race leader of Chad Coleman stuck with Edson behind him. And then down on the inside line, you got the 21, 28, 32, and the 19, and that's where the 88 stuck at. And Nick Timms has joined him down there with Sean Bounty. So here we are, double wide race, and everybody's pretty much doing the same speed now, but the guy that's leading the race ain't actually leading the race.
No, it's just the way it worked out. You know, these guys they didn't really slow down the pack. You know, just the pack was big enough to catch these guys, and now that they're all back together, they're all running the same speed. So it's just, I mean, if these guys, I guess the place to be is in front of the leaders, because now if the leaders make their pit stops, they're in the front.
Look out.
Yeah, we do have one blowing up. He stayed on the high side. Looks like we're going to be okay. As long as he stays up there, I think we'll be okay. Yeah, everybody stayed clean. Everybody moved out of the way, and he is making his pit stop right now. That looks like that's the second driver that's falling out due to motor failure tonight. You know, I'm not sure if that's from a previous damage or if that's just this tape situation and drafting too much.
Well, that was James Pasquarello, excuse me, the 77 car, and that could have been so much worse for our leaders, but he was luckily enough to keep it up on the high side. In the meantime, back up front, they're still dealing with this pack, Don, and it looks like Nick Solomon's back in the lead. I'm not real sure if what happened to Coleman, if he got a piece of that or what, but Solomon has managed to get himself back into the lead. It's followed by Nick Timms there, and they're kind of picking their way through this slower pack. Well, not slower pack, I shouldn't say that. These tail-end guys, I should say, these lap down fellas.
Yeah, I was trying to figure out what happened to Coleman there. Kind of lost sight of him.
He's back there behind Gottschalk right now.
Yeah, I think he might have just fell back a little bit. Maybe he was just being cautious for what was going on up there. Ooh, it looked like one of those lap cars got in the wall a little bit. But, yeah, pretty much the only guys that, you know, side by side, like you said, are these guys up front here. And everybody else is pretty much single file back there, letting these lap cars go up high. And right now, Nick Cohan is, even though he's not leading the race, he's leading that lower line.
I tell you what, that had to be a very scary moment for our leaders, having that car blow up right in front of them like that.
Oh, yeah, definitely. I mean, watching that smoke right there in a tight pack like that, I mean, really good heads-up driving by JP there. He went up to the high side, kept it out of the way. Nobody got into him, and, you know, the field kept it really clean there. Everybody really had their heads up.
Well, I'm looking at my own replay here, and it looks to me like that's exactly what it was. JP was just up there drafting too long, got overheated, and when he blew up, Coleman was on that outside line and checked up a lot, which allowed several of those inside line guys to get by him. So that's how we got that whole conflagration there. But,
yeah,
man, that could have been a lot worse. I'm glad it worked out for these guys, and we're back to racing up front.
Yeah, we're actually, like you said, you know, Nicholas Cohan, he's in 34th place on the field, but he's leading that low line right now just because of the way it worked out on those different pit strategies here for, looks like some of those Dizzy Motorsports guys, and we'll have to see how it works out for him there.
I think Tim's had thoughts of going 3 wide for a second.
Yeah, it looked like it.
He's gonna think twice about that, folks. While he thinks twice about going 3 wide at Daytona, we're gonna take a commercial break. But don't worry, you won't miss any of the action as we go corner to corner.
My doctor calls me and says, Chris, I have the results of your scan. This is saying you have lung cancer. And that was probably the single most shocking thing anyone's ever told me in my life.
How can I have lung cancer? I'm 39. How can I have lung cancer? I do kick myself almost daily for ever starting smoking. I really do.
Quit your way. Visit tobaccofreeflorida.com.
All right, Watson, let's analyze the chemicals in this cigarette smoke. Cadmium?
Check.
Formaldehyde?
Check.
Arsenic?
Sir, isn't arsenic what they used in rat poison?
Yeah, isn't arsenic what they use in rat poison?
Oh, what was I thinking, sir? It's not like we're gonna smoke them.
Neither will the rats.
Tobacco is no joke. Cigarette smoke has over 7,000 chemicals. Learn more at thefactsnow.com.
And welcome back to the Transervice Cup Series Daytona 250 from the guys at Sim500. I'm John Mushton Jr. Next to me is Don Runkle Jr. and Aaron is down there in the production van. We call this the John, Don, and Double A-Ron show. And folks, it's still like it was when we left you. We've got a leader, but he ain't leading, is he, Don?
No, we got some guys that are on an offset pit stop strategy here, and they're up front. You know, got Nick Cohan and company, and they're all pretty much back way on the grid, but they're leading the pack right now. Why we got the leaders a few cars behind them right now. It shows Nick Solomon is the leader right now in the number 88 car on the high side there.
Well, I tell you what, this has been the same thing. We've seen lap after lap, about 10 laps now, and I mean, you know, like you said earlier before we went to commercial, these guys have every right to race where they are on the track right now. They do not have to give room to our leaders, and you know, it's good to see they at least get out there and race and not cause issues for the leader.
Oh, definitely. You know, we're almost here at halfway. We're just about almost a lap away from halfway here. And so far, I mean, we've had some pretty clean racing. I mean, we had a caution early on, and we had a couple motor expire there earlier, but it's been pretty clean since then.
Well, speaking of expired motors, the last one that we just saw happen in front of the pack up on the high side, James Pasquarella, we've caught up with him down there. JP, buddy, bad luck, man. How you doing?
Been better.
Man, I'm sorry to see that. So we understand that your car just overheated a little bit there from a little too much bump drafting, huh?
Yeah, I was trying to cool it back down, and the temperature just want to go back down. It just blew up on me.
Well, man, better luck next week at Atlanta. How did the car feel up to that point?
Felt pretty good. We just took 4 tires with my teammates there, short pitted for some fuel, and we were just riding around until we pit again, try to make it to the end.
Well, again, JP, I'm glad to see you're okay, and thank God that wreck didn't get any worse than what it was, but sorry for your bad luck, man. We'll look forward to watching you at Atlanta next week.
Thanks. See you guys next week.
And that was JP, or James Pasquarella, as we call him, JP. And again, he's out, unfortunately, to a blown motor. I tell you what, Don, that could have been so much worse than where it happened out on the track and who he was in front of.
Yeah, definitely. It was good heads-up driving by all the drivers. Him definitely got to the high side, kept it against the wall. All the guys, you know, that were behind him, they saw what was coming up. They saw the smoke. They saw the situation. They all kind of got lined up and kept it really clean. And it kind of confirmed, you know, my suspicions what he was saying about his teammates. You know, short pitting and kind of on a different strategy there. So kind of got a good word from him there.
Yeah. Well, we're riding along now with our pole winner, Trey Edson, who finds himself kind of mired in the middle of this big pack. He runs 8th on the scoreboard, but I don't know, he's like maybe 11th car, 12th car back there in the pack. You know, he's riding along, just kind of biding his time. Edson's one of these guys. He doesn't get too overly aggressive, especially at speedway tracks. And right in front of him is that 83 car that we were talking about when that first incident happened, whom I thought took some significant nose damage, but it looks to me, Don, like he got in and got it fixed, and now he's riding in the top 10.
Yeah, actually, I think a lot of his damage was more on the rear end, but it looks like his rear end and the front end, I mean, he looks pretty straight. I don't see any significant damage on that kick-ass beef jerky car there. And, yeah, he seems to be holding his own there. I mean, we thought maybe you give him a little bit of bad luck by talking about his paint scheme, but you might have gave him some good luck. I mean,
well, he's doing pretty good, but he's surrounded by some Transervice teammates there. Chad Coleman, we got Glenn Campbell up there in the 44. Behind him is Edson, that 40. And to Edson's outside is another one I want to talk about, that 7 car of Mike Keaton. Mike got in when one of the qualifying drivers dropped out, Brian Wertman. He scheduled a trip with his family out to Daytona. I'm sorry, to Disney World. So he gave up his seat here at Daytona, and Mike Keaton took over there in the 7 car. Keaton's worked his way up to a pretty good spot there. He's in the top 10. Right now he rides 8th, but really, again, mired back in the pack of about 14 cars. But we've already touched on that. You know, these guys are on a separate pit stop strategy. We talked to JP. They all went in, took fuel and 4 tires. So that might work out for them in the long run there, Don.
It might. I mean, they're going to have to do another pit stop, so we'll have to see how it works out. You know, cautions can definitely throw a complete wrench in all the plans that you got going on for here. You know, one wreck, it could be single car, multi-car, whatever. It doesn't matter. It can still, you know, change things up as far as pit strategy goes. And like we were saying before, we saw in the first pit stop, you know, guys sometimes taking 2, some guys taking 4, some guys taking no tires. So that can also, you know, come into play here.
Well, barring those, you know, 5 or 6 cars we have in front of our leaders right now, we're on lap 53. That means that these guys, everybody else in the field pretty much has been out almost 40 laps. So our fuel window should be opening up here pretty soon. And I'm just wondering, do you think any of these guys that are going to be pitting soon are going to take tires, or 2 tires, or no tires and just fuel? What do you think is going to happen here?
I mean, me, most of the time when I'm at these super speedway tracks, I usually go back and forth. I take 2 tires on one side, 2 tires on the other side. I swap back and forth. Sometimes I'll take no tires. I don't think you're going to see many 4-tire pit stops here. I think you're going to see a lot of 2-tire stops, and you might even see an occasional tire stop. So, but I mean, we're going to see it here soon, because these guys are going to have to stop here soon. The guys that, you know, aren't short pitting.
That's right, they are, and we are just a little past halfway, folks. And this one, again, it's a 100-lap race. 250 miles. Daytona is a great track, and I'm a little late with this since we are halfway, but we'll go over our track facts. In case you're not familiar, in case you're maybe from, I don't know, Kazakhstan somewhere, never heard of Daytona.
Mars,
Florida.
yeah, I don't know.
Mars, maybe. It's a 2.5-mile track, opened in 1959. It's got 31-degree banking in the turns. And folks, that might not sound alike, but when you're there and looking up at it, it's just amazing to see. It seats 101,500 people. That's a lot of people sitting up there in the stand, drinking beer, having hot dogs, having a really good time. This group of guys, they run fixed setup. So what that means basically is everybody that's out there has the exact same setup in their car. The only thing you really change is how much fuel you take and whether or not you take tires. That's about it.
We got pit stops starting to happen. Look like Sean Bounty called on pit stop. You got a whole 3 cars peeling down, a few cars in the back peeling down for pit stops. I think I saw about 4 guys peeling down on pit road.
And that's what we were talking about. That window is open now for these guys to get in and get some fuel, but they've got to be careful on pit road. You know, we covered that too. Mistakes on pit road, especially under a green flag pit stop, could cost you everything at Daytona.
Definitely. You don't want to slide. You don't, through your pit stall. You don't want to speed getting on pit road, getting off pit road. You don't want to go above that line. You don't want to, you know, hit that blue cone before you get on the track, the merging cone. You definitely want to. There's a lot of different things that you could mess up on a pit stop.
Well, we said it, and we've already got one guy, Steve Ritter, in the 16 car. He still has not been able to get into his pit box. He's been going backwards and forwards, trying to get into it. That is going to cost him huge on track. In the meantime, back up front, let's check in with our leader, Nick Solomon, see where he's at. He's on the outside, fighting off, looks like 44 in the Coleman. I'm sorry, Fuller's in the lead. My apologies, I hadn't updated yet. But we got a lead change up there, and I'll tell you what, these guys need to start thinking about getting down and getting ready to get in the pits here. You definitely don't want to run out of gas at Daytona, that's for sure.
Oh, no, you definitely don't want to run out of gas here. You can see they're blowing by some of these guys that just came out of their pit stops, or pit stops. They just completed them. Sean Bounty, you see on the low end, on low side as the field goes by him. It's going to take a full lap and a half for these guys that just came out of the pits to get up to full speed. Plus, if they don't have a draft partner, it's going to take them even longer.
Absolutely. Meantime, we said
a
bunch of guys coming in the pit road here. Oh, my goodness, trying to get woed down from 200 miles an hour. The pit lane speed is harsh. The 88 slid through the grass and then came to the pits. That's going to cost him. He will probably get penalized for that.
He probably will get penalized. You see these guys 4 wide going down pit road. You see our leaders coming in right now. 88 slid through his pit stall like we were talking before. Those mistakes, you don't want to make those mistakes. We see Trey Edson, the leader, or the pole sitter, he's in pit road right now. Definitely took 2 tires.
Man, not only did he slide through his box, he bounced it off the wall as well.
Oh, that's definitely don't want that to happen. And you see these guys coming off pit road right now. I know a lot of guys took 4 tires. I do know that Trey Edson took 4 tires. I saw that. I do believe the number 11 of Justin Fuller only took 2 tires. No, Solomon Toad. I guess he probably maybe has some damage on his car, maybe going behind the wall. I'm not exactly sure there.
Well, like we were just discussing, folks, sorry about that. Yeah, Nick Solomon for some reason took a tow. And what that means, folks, that aren't familiar with sim racing, if you hit the escape button and get out of the vehicle, it will tow your vehicle around. But I don't know what happened with that. He's probably got some sort of a penalty he's got to serve now, so he's going to pay for that on track. In the meantime, he's definitely going to have a black flag for the way he entered the pits. What that means is by going through the grass like he did, it's called an unsafe pit entry, and it costs you big time. So we're going to let this we're going to let green flag pit stops shake out a little bit, see who comes out where, and try and sort this mess out. What do you say, Don?
it looks like the guys. Looks like the guys that that were off sequence with their pit stops. We were talking about them before. Those majority of the Dizzy Motorsports guy, Tim Johnson, Shane Hewing, Nicholas Cohan, Anthony DeBarro. Those guys, they were on an offset sequence pit stop, and right now it looks like the guys are going to be leading this field here.
It sure does, and as you say that, it has updated, and it looks like Timothy Johnson is currently our leader. But on his outside, he's got a challenge from Nicholas Cohan and that 21 teammates fighting each other for the lead here.
Yeah, they're probably, sometimes it's actually faster. We were talking about earlier, if one pack's trying to catch another pack, you think sometimes single file will be the way to do it, but sometimes actually being side by side, especially if you're teammates and you know how to run around near each other and you can do that side drafting, actually it's faster to run side by side if you can communicate with the drivers around you.
Yeah, this is true. So after all that excitement on pit road, Nick Solomon finds himself in 39th place from the lead. 39th place, 1 lap down, Don. That's a heartbreaker.
That is a heartbreaker, all because of just, not getting on pit road. Look at like you said, you got on pit road a little bit too hot, went through the grass there, and just kind of just went downhill from there. I mean, that's all it takes here at Daytona. It's very hard to bounce back from a bad pit stop.
It sure is. And what that has done, folks, is it's really spread out this field. We've basically got a 6-car pack up front leading this thing, and then behind them is a snake, if you want to call it that. We've got 3 cars, the 1140 of Trey Edson. Nick Timms is back there in the 51. And then behind them, we've got the 20 of Chad Coleman. Ben Kilcrease is in here in 11th spot. And the 97 is just behind Ben. So I think once all these 3 and 4 car packs catch up to each other, they'll probably be able to run down that lead pack.
Yeah, definitely. And, I was just confirming every single one of those guys in the top 6, every one of them are communicating in TeamSpeak right now. I guarantee that everything that they're doing right now is planned. So everything you see that they're doing on the track, I definitely know that they're talking about it and they're planning things out.
And that's what we were talking about earlier. You've got to have friends on this track. It's great to have teammates, somebody to help you plot and plan your race out, and it's working out for these guys, Don. It's working out real good for them.
Well, this race is basically like a war. The more soldiers you have to work with, the more chance you have of winning. The more guys you can work with, the more chance you got of putting your car in a position to where you might be able to be up front there at the end.
That is a fascinating analogy, my friend. I'd really like to meet with your therapist.
Oh, no, you wouldn't.
In the meantime, we have a change for the lead up there. Cohan and DeBarro just blew by the 28 down there. Timothy Johnson on that high side. I mean, those two hooked up, Don, and look, they had nitrous buttons in their cars.
Yeah, DeBarro's definitely we know he's definitely no stranger to being great at drafting. I do believe he was drafting in the duels with Chad Coleman in his duels, and we were talking about how good those guys were working together. And, here, Nick Cohan, Dizzy Motorsports, and Anthony DeBarro, these guys are definitely no strangers to be able to work together here at Super Speedway tracks.
But in the meantime, that outside line consists of Justin Fuller, Trey Edson, and Nick Thames. They are making up a lot of headway here. Catching these guys, just those 3 cars on the outside, and they just came out of the pits not too long ago. So this is really a fight for the lead right here. And I'm going to be honest with you, these guys on the outside look strong. They might have that lead. Oh, look, that group's peeling off again right here coming in the pits.
Yeah, we see the group of the group of cars, those teammates, peeling off. Oh, we look like somebody in the back. Steve Gottschalk locked him up in the back, almost nosed his car into the wall, but it looks like he saved it. I don't think he hit that wall, but it's definitely going to make for a slow pit stop here as he tries to catch a gear and gather it up.
That's really unfortunate. That's going to cost him a lot of time on the track. And, again, we covered that. That's just something you don't want to do. You don't want to make mistakes on pit road, especially on the green flag stops.
Yeah, now this is going to happen now is those guys that are all pitted together. I mean, they obviously did that so they could draft together and work with each other. This is going to put Steve Gottschalk in a bad position. Nerf is, you know, he had that bad entry there, and it's these 5 guys are getting out together, and you can see Steve Gottschalk, he's still on pit road. He's not going to be able to catch these guys. That's going to hurt him a ton on the track. As you can see, the leaders are passing him now.
Yep, his only hope is to get a caution and hope to not be part of the caution. And maybe take a wave around if it's a quick caution. If not, hopefully he can fight with Solomon for that spot, you know, for the lucky dog there. But I'll tell you what, we're gonna let this swing out a little bit more, folks, and let the field shuffle by one more time. It looks to me right now that Justin Fuller's the leader of this race, with Trey Etzen in second, Nick Timms in third, Coleman in fourth, and our own Ben Kilcrease in fifth. Look at that.
Yeah, it's good to see Ben putting that 00 in the top 5 there, starting 34th. He's right up there in the, you know, holding strong on the high side. He's looking good right there.
That right now is our biggest climber of the race, man. 34th to 5th, 29 spots. That's not bad at all. Look at this. Wow, I don't know what Nick Tibbs was thinking right there, but he almost put himself into the side of the 21, which kind of broke the momentum of Coleman and Kilcrease up there on that high side. But they've got a lot of help behind them there, Don. I don't think it's going to cost them for very long.
No, not at all. Yeah, Nick definitely made a very aggressive move there on Nick Cohan, and you know, it looks like that high side, they're a lot more organized than we saw earlier. You can see they're running a little bit lower on the track, trying to get that side draft. And so far, he's been able to carry that momentum. But you also see who's leading that high side. Chad Coleman. He's been the man all night. We've been able to see he'd be able to put that car anywhere he wants, high side, low side. It seems like he's been able to take the lead pretty much at will.
That Transervice Chevy ZL1 is a rocket right now. Look at that thing go, man.
Yeah, he's definitely been super fast tonight. He's got some aggressive drivers down low. Trey Etzen, you know, he's kind of a sleeper right there, even though he did get the pole, but he's not like usually the aggressive guy. He's usually methodical and kind of chooses his spots. But Nick Timms, I've raced with him. He could be a little aggressive, and Fuller definitely can be an aggressive driver. So we'll have to see how those guys work this out here at the bottom as Chad Coleman tries to get that high line organized.
Yeah, I think Kilcrease is starting to get a little warm up there because he's poking his nose out trying to get some air flowing through that car and get it cooled off a little bit. Again, we've seen 2 motors expire tonight, folks, from too much bump drafting, getting up too close to the car in front of it for too long, and that car overheats real quick. So we'll hopefully we won't see any more of that, especially out of our boss. I'd hate for him to come to work tomorrow in a cranky mood.
Yeah, definitely. I wouldn't want to see that. I mean, I honestly think that if the boss man here pushes Chad Coleman past that leader, that he's going to get left out to dry, as we've seen many times before. I think Chad Coleman's going to, just like I said, Chad Coleman's going to go right to the bottom of the track. As I'm saying it, he does it, and kind of breaks that momentum up high. So he's definitely not going to have to worry about his car getting cool now because he's got all that air in front of him without Chad Coleman there.
Yes, he is, and the problem is it's going to be tough to get by. Getting to Chad Coleman on this track is one thing. Getting by him is completely different. He's going to have a whole lot of help up there in order to make that pass. But we'll see what Big can do with it here in a couple of laps. It looks like he's got some steam building up. He's got 4 cars behind him with Keaton trying to sneak up in there, make it a 5th car in that high line, and we'll see how that works out for him, Don.
Yeah, we're coming to about 30 laps to go. I think these guys are pretty much going to be all good with fuel. You can see Ben, he's getting that momentum up high. He's bringing that double zero right there with the 97 of who is that? Lionel Castello? I'm going to say his name wrong. You got to help me out there.
Callisto.
Thank you. The 97 car there is really giving them a good push. They had to kind of go down for that lap car there. But the thing about it is, we were talking about expiring motors and overheating. The bottom line doesn't really have to work quite as hard with this draft as the top line does. The top line really have to work with the bump drafting and timing it and everything else. So, I think that's where we saw JP was actually on the high side when his motor blew earlier. So, I think that's something we're going to have to really look out for. Like we were talking about the extra tape, 55% tape on those girls here.
Absolutely. That's where Lockhart was, too, when his motor expired. And, that high line, like you said, they got to work a little bit harder. In the meantime, our leaders are coming up on another slower pack up ahead of them. Those guys, I believe, that we saw pit, I don't know what happened there, but Ben just lost a whole lot of ground there in that 0-0. Kilcrease did. Not real sure what happened there, but he faded back about a row or two from the leader.
Yeah, he faded back just a little bit, but he's still hanging right there. He's in that second pack. Got to get in ahead of steam again. We're going to see what's going to happen with these guys up there. We got 4 cars in front of the leaders here. Don't know if they're going to go high, stay low, kind of blend in. We're going to have to see how this works out.
And I'm trying to figure out who these guys are. If they've already pitted or if they're, they don't have any damage. Yeah, these are guys, like our producer was just saying on here, these are some guys that probably had problems on pit road earlier, which is why they're riding back here by themselves for, four in a line there. And it looks like Kevin DeBrown's part of this pack. Well,
yeah, these guys are just trying to. I think these guys are just trying to stay with the draft here. I don't know. I mean, these guys are staying at the bottom here. They might file up high here coming out of the corner.
Well, these are our last 2 cars on the lead lap. Last 4 cars on the lead lap, I should say.
So they're fighting for the lucky
Ritter,
dog,
Bobby
too.
Wetzel, and Kevin Brown. Yeah, so they're fighting to stay on that lead lap, and then they'll probably fight with each other to get that lucky dog if caution comes out.
Well, it's going to get a little hairy here with these guys on the high side. Ben drops back about 4 rows back from the leader. We got another lap car, slow car on the high side that's obviously got some damage, so he's trying to stay out of the way. So, things are getting a little crowded here really quick.
Yeah, that high side has lost a lot of momentum. They have faded back in a hurry. In the meantime, up front, we've got some more guys going high, trying to make something happen.
That's the leader.
Yeah, you're right. I'm sorry. That is the leader. They've caught that 4-car pack that we were talking about. So he's trying to work his way around the high side. That's going to give Ben a hell of a lot of steam to try and catch back up on his own high side there.
Yeah, definitely. You got they're going by these guys. The 1, the 16, and the 9. These guys are all lap down. They're all just trying to fight for that lucky dog there. But the leaders, they're just getting that head of steam going on the high side there. And I don't know. You'll have to see. Is Chad Coleman going to be okay with that 1 pushing him, or is he going to stay on the high side with that 11? We've seen him dump a guy before, kind of not dump him, but leave him out to dry. I think he's going to stick to that high side, though.
He's going to stay up high, Don. I don't think he's going to duck down.
I think he's probably rather stay up high with the lead lap cars and down there with those lap cars, not really knowing what their situation is.
Now, I'd be interested to see what the 51 does as he passes his teammate up. Does he maybe jump down and try and get his teammate to help him get past the 20, you think?
He could definitely do that. I mean, just because he's a lap down doesn't mean he's looking like he's going to try to make it 3 wide there. Oh, he hit the wall!
Oh, big wreck.
Big wreck by Nick Thames. He's coming right back up the track and collects more cars. I don't know what happened there.
Wow.
Nick Thames just all of a sudden, it looked like he was looking in the middle line to maybe go 3 wide, and then he just kind of went at the track and hit the wall and lost it from there.
He took a bunch of cars with him on that one. That's unfortunate.
That's going to change things up a lot here.
We're looking at the replay right now, and I don't know what happened there. He went down. I wonder if maybe he got a black screen.
I couldn't tell if he got turned.
He didn't get turned by anybody. He just went up and smacked the wall.
That's what it looked like to me. It looked like he just maybe he went down low, was looking down low, and then maybe he just overcorrected when he went to the right again, and he hit the wall, bounced off the wall, and came right back down the track.
That was just insane. I'm not real sure what happened there. If he lost controls of his wheel maybe or something, but man, that was a big one. And folks, what we're going to do real quick is we're going to let this kind of file around and get this sorted out. We're going to go to a commercial break. We're going to go ahead and keep it corner to corner so you can keep watching. And then when we come back, we'll get this all sorted out and see where this leaves our leaders and our lap down cars. We'll be right back.
All right, Watson, let's analyze the chemicals in this cigarette smoke. Cadmium?
Check.
Formaldehyde?
Check.
Arsenic?
Sir, isn't arsenic what they used in rat poison?
Yeah, isn't arsenic what they used in rat poison?
Oh, what was I thinking, sir? It's not like we're gonna smoke them.
Neither will the rats.
Tobacco is no joke. Cigarette smoke has over 7,000 chemicals. Learn more at thefactsnow.com.
The most realistic online racing sim ever made. This is iRacing. Detailed laser scan tracks, fully dynamic real world cars, and over 50 series to choose from. 6 online world championships offering over $100,000 in annual prizes. This is the original esport racing game. This is iRacing.
My doctor calls me and says, Chris, I have the results of your scan. This is saying you have lung cancer. And that was probably the single most shocking thing anyone's ever told me in my life.
How can I have lung cancer? I'm 39. How can I have lung cancer? I do kick myself almost daily for ever starting smoking. I really do.
Quit your way. Visit tobaccofreeflorida.com.
All right, Watson, let's analyze the chemicals in this cigarette smoke. Cadmium?
Check.
Formaldehyde?
Check.
Arsenic?
Sir, isn't arsenic what they used in rat poison?
Yeah, isn't arsenic what they used in rat poison?
Oh, what was I thinking, sir? It's not like we're gonna smoke them.
Neither will the rats.
Tobacco is no joke. Cigarette smoke has over 7,000 chemicals. Learn more at thefactsnow.com.
The most realistic online racing sim ever made. This is iRacing. Detailed laser scan tracks, fully dynamic real world cars, and over 50 series to choose from. 6 online world championships offering over $100,000 in annual prizes. This is the original esport racing game. This is iRacing.
And welcome back to Daytona International Speedway, the Sim Racing Network's coverage of the Transervice Cup Series, the Sim500 guys. And you can don't forget, folks, you can catch us on our triple threat of broadcasting on Facebook, Twitch, and YouTube. Just search theracingnetwork.com and you'll find us. For all your broadcast needs, drop by the simracingnetwork.com and talk to us. Maybe we can get you some sort of a package worked up for your sim racing broadcasts if you want. In the meantime, Don, what a hell of a race we've got going on here, bud.
We got a great race going on, and as no surprise, we still got Chad Coleman in the lead, man. That guy has just been pacing this field tonight, been knowing to put that car, been making some great moves, and yeah, I mean, I don't think anybody can say he's not the favorite right now, but I think there's a whole bunch of other guys back there, including Justin Fuller, Trey Edson, and our own Ben Kilcrease in 4th, starting all the way back from 34th.
That's amazing. Behind him, or down there on the inside line, the 7 car, Michael Keaton, started 43rd on the field. He's all the way up to 7th. And here we go, folks. The pace car is about to duck off pit lane. Duck on the pit lane, I should say. And we're going to go back to green. We're going to do it one more time. We're going to do some turn it up for you. Ah, nothing like the sound of some high-power, high-octane motors that get your blood running. Huh, Don?
Definitely, definitely. These guys are really battling side by side here, man. I mean, they're trying to make that high side work. And, man, this is great racing right here. Absolutely.
I'll tell you what, though. I'm looking at that 97, and his quality was up and down a second ago of Lionel Callisto. That's not something you want to see when you're racing at Daytona. There's a guy next to you blinking in and out.
Definitely not. Definitely not. I mean, you're really close quarters racing here. Not only that, the blink in and out, it actually affects the draft because the blink, the car actually leaving and coming back, breaks that draft for a second and then it comes back. So it actually affects the aerodynamics, believe it or not.
Absolutely, and it's very nerve-wracking. I mean, you don't know where that guy's going to reappear at. I was at Daytona one time, and the guy in front of me disappeared for the entire backstretch, and when he came back, he was literally inside my car for the entire turn 3 and 4. I about pissed myself.
I mean, that's probably the best date you've had in a while. But that guy's still blinking up top there. Yeah, I could see that. He just did it again.
And that's got to make the guys behind him and in front of him, Kilcrease in front of him and Bounty behind him, a little bit nervous. Again, we don't have equipment failures in iRacing, folks. What we have is netcode. And basically, when your computer is talking to the iRacing server and telling it where your car is on track and vice versa, sometimes that gets a little mixed up. But I'll tell you what, it's not affecting that push right now. Look at this. The other car making a bid for the outside on the outside for the lead, but I don't think he's going to clear Coleman quite a bit there. Nope,
he might get it here. Ben's got a heck of a push going into turn 1.
Oh, banged him good and hard going down into that turn 1 there.
I don't think he's going to quite clear him, though. He just needs a couple more inches, and he could have cleared him.
Well, it looked like he was clear, but he just didn't want to dump Ben, which is a surprise. I mean, normally we don't see that kind of loyalty. Here he goes again. He's got him out front again. The 00 of Ben Kilcrease is giving the 11 one hell of a push. Fuller takes advantage of it, does pull ahead, but he does not go down and leave Kilcrease out to dry. So maybe they talked under the brake or something like that, and they've got something worked out here.
That might be a possibility. I mean, they're definitely working really good together. On another note, change the subject real quick. Nick Thames, he had a hardware failure. That was the reason for that wreck there. He said he actually had a screen completely freeze up on him.
Which kind of touches on what I said earlier. We don't have normal equipment failures like do in NASCAR. And you saw it right there. The 11 jumped down in front of Coleman just a little bit, trying to block him, and then jump back up in front of Ben Kilcrease. But as I was saying, folks, what we have are, router failures. Your monitor goes black. Maybe your steering wheel loses power and you can't steer anymore. Stuff like that. And unfortunate for Nick Thames, who was one of our stronger cars tonight there, Don. He had a frozen screen, and that's why he just suddenly turned to the right.
It's just like in real racing. In sim racing, we have random failures that can happen, hardware failures. Same thing can happen in real racing. You can have issues, with the car, with equipment or whatever, and it's no different. I mean, things can happen, and that's just the way it worked out. Nick had a hardware failure and, had a big one here at Daytona, so it's too bad for him and some of those cars that got involved.
It is. But like you said, you know, it happens. Life moves on. So anyway, back up front, I'm really impressed with Fuller not ditching his pushing partner of Ben Kilcrease out there. Behind them, you saw the 97 of Callisto, the 34 Bounty. The 2 is up there. Mike Kelly. Behind him is Comstock. Comstock's up there in that high line also on the 43. Ooh, we got a slow car. Bobby West on the high side. That'll make things a little bit tight right here in the turns. You hate catching the lap cars right there in that turn like that, but these guys are all good enough to get through there without incident. But as I was saying, we've got some really strong cars there, Don, on the outside, so we should start seeing some really good drafting and pushing up front here shortly.
Yeah, Fuller, man. I've raced with Fuller before, and that 11 car, you can see he's trying to get that momentum on the outside again. He can be your best friend or your worst enemy on the track. I've raced with him where we've been drafting partners and helping each other out, and also he can be your most fierce competitor. So, right now I think it's great that he's, staying up there with the 00, hanging out there with Ben. Ben's helping him with the draft. He could have held him or left him out there a few times when he got in front of the leader, but I think Fuller's kind of content with staying up on that high side. I think he can make that work if he gets a good run there with Ben. And they got a little ways to go here, but laps are kicking down. We got like 15 to go here.
That's right. We've got 15 laps to go. Well, 16 this time by 15 now as they take the start-finish line. And it's time to go. It's time to go and make your moves, and that's what we're going to see here shortly. Folks, we started this race with a 43-car field, and that's a lot of cars to be on track. And right now we only have 5 cars that have dropped out through wrecks or whatever. We have 26 cars on the lead lap. So this fight, it's really not just the 4 or 5 guys you see up front. We've got 26 cars. Anybody in that pack of 26 could win this right now.
Oh, definitely. These guys in this pack up here, like even these guys in the back, I mean, there could be a big wreck up front, and these guys in the back could, maybe pull one off. We might have a dark horse, somebody they don't expect to get the win. I mean, that's what Daytona's all about, man. That's why they call it the Great American Race. Absolutely.
And, I mean, when you look at the timing line right now, the top 22 are within a second and a half of each other.
That's crazy.
Only Jason Behrman and Chad Cole have really dropped off the tail end of the draft there. They're damaged cars. So you've basically got 22 cars, literally, that could step up and win this race if the leaders make mistakes and wreck each other or whatever, or anything could happen. And they're all right there. You throw a blanket, well, not a blanket, but maybe a good
big bedspread, maybe a comforter over top of them or something like that. Yeah, you can definitely do that. Maybe good sized sleeping bag. But these guys, they're too wide. They're not scared. They're not doing that single file racing like we saw earlier in the race. I mean, time is running out. Laps are ticking down. These guys got to make their moves, and they got to make them now. They can't wait anymore. These leaders, they're pretty content on being where they're at. Especially Chad Coleman. He's in the perfect spot where he wants to be. They haven't been able to really make that high line work in the last few laps. We've seen some big runs by Fuller and Kilcrease on the top side, but they just really haven't been able to make any good runs here in the last couple laps.
I'll tell you, Coleman's really showing his mastery of the draft up front. He's kind of moved up in front of that outside line a couple of times to try and break their momentum up a little bit and use them as a push. That's mastercraft right there as far as racing goes.
Well, if you notice, I'm actually watching his car really close in these last few laps. When he enters the corner low, and he actually brings his car up, especially if Fuller is behind him. Like, Fuller's next to him right now. But when Fuller was back behind him a little bit more, he actually brought his car up a car length from the bottom line. He did it again. He just does it again here now, too. And it kind of helps him. It doesn't pinch off that speed getting on the bottom line there. Plus, it helps the guy behind him got to get a better line to be able to draft and be able to carry that momentum. Because it is harder to carry the momentum on the low side. You can kind of do it on the high side, but, the advantage is to be at the bottom. That's where you want to be. That's where the leader wants to be, hugging that yellow line all the way around the track.
Absolutely. And I tell you what, it looks like Kilcrease has cooled off his car enough as he starts to inch his way back up to that back bumper 11, trying to make another push for the lead there.
Yeah, I think that's one of the things these guys were doing. They might have been backing off a little bit, cooling their cars down, maybe getting a little bit of heat out of those tires. But you can see they're battling back on the high side as Fuller's trying to get another run there. He's got a good gap between him and Ben there, but let's see, they just can't make it happen.
Well, they got some lap cars they're looking out for, and we just crossed the line. 10 to go. That's right, 10 to go. Lap 90 out of 100. We are here, folks. It's time to get this show going. And I'm telling you, you watch that outside line, Don. They're about to make something happen here. It looks. Oh wow, Fuller got real loose right there. Looks like he might have got a bad bump from Kilcrease in the 00.
Definitely. Looked like the bumpers didn't quite line up a little bit, but he held on to it there. And, yeah, we got 10 to go, man. It's time to go. Cinch those belts tight, boys, because, man, we're going to have some great racing here. These guys are not going to play around. There's not going to be any more friends here in these closing laps.
Absolutely not. It's going to be every man for himself. And, oh, look at this. The 24 gets loose down there on the inside. I saw it right there. He got on that apron in the tri-oval, Don. That is not something you want to do, and that is going to kill that inside line's momentum. But the 97 ducks down into that gap, hoping to go somewhere with it. If I'd have been him, I'd have stayed up there in that outside lane.
Yeah, I would have stayed up there too, but, you know, maybe he just felt better. Maybe he didn't feel like that high side was working to his advantage, you know, and maybe go on the low side. I don't know, you know. I mean, he's still got some time. He might find a hole up there, but Sean Bounty fills that hole right up and got right on the bumper of Ben Kilcrease in the 00 there.
Absolutely. I was going to say Sean Bounty wasted no time filling that spot. Again, you know, to me that was a mistake by 97. Who knows? You know, he might gain a couple spots by doing that. But here we go. Do the tri-oval one more time down here, and look at that. Fuller's really making a press on the outside. Look at that momentum he grabs right there from that push from Ben Kilcrease.
Yeah, he got a great bump there, you know, going into the corner. But like I said, they just haven't been able to pull it off here the last few laps. I'm not exactly sure what it is. You know, Ben is sucking right up to Fuller there. You know, like you said, we got to watch out for those guys with the overheating issues and everything. Here at the end, you know, we only got about 8 laps left, so, you know, they're basically just going to run them to the end and, you know, motors be damned, heat be damned. These guys are just going to try to get these things in victory lane, and I'm hoping that Ben and Fuller can get hooked up there. Maybe we have a good battle for the finish here at the end.
Well, I ran the race with these guys, a practice race where they developed the setup. And the longest I could lock up to anybody's bumper and push was about 2 laps. And that's when my gauges started pegging out. So we're going to have to wait and see. Maybe that's what they're doing right now. They're just playing a little waiting game. He doesn't want Coleman to get too far out ahead of him, but at the same time, they don't want to blow their motors back there behind him. So that might be something to pay attention to. But I guarantee you, when we get down to maybe 3 laps to go, we're going to see a heck of a shakeup up here in front.
Oh, definitely. And you can see, you know, Trey Essen got a big bump on Coleman there before they came in the corner. Kind of checked up the line a little bit. 97 got right up on the 40s bumper. That's one thing, you know, when you get a big run, they could check up the back of the field there. And, you know, it might happen in the front, but the wreck might happen about 5 or 6 cars back. As you see, the 24 is trying to go 3 wide right there on the 97 and the 34.
I'm telling you, the 24
Look like Sean's going to get hung up
his way up in there and hangs Bounty up there in that high line. And all Sean can do now is hope that somebody joins him up there for 3 wide, but I don't think it's going to happen, Don.
Yeah, Sean right now would not want to be on that radio right now. I know he's got to be upset. That 24 made it 3 wide, basically just bullied Sean out of that spot, and he gets hung out to dry on the outside. You saw he lost a ton of spots
Tommy Ryan, the 99. Is that Tommy Ryan?
Oh, yeah, it is.
Tommy Ryan's up there. He's going to jump up and try and maybe get something going in that 3rd line, but they're going to need a lot more help than that.
Yeah, they're definitely going to need a lot more help than that. If that backpack keeps doing that, then all it's going to do is make these guys in the front just kind of walk away from it a little bit more. I mean, even though they're in the pack. See a lot of dicing going on back there. Guys going below the yellow line.
Yeah, that's not something you want to do here. 1, you can get a penalty, but 2, you hit that yellow line down there in the tri-oval, and you're going to lose control of the car. I've seen it happen a few times in the duels, in qualifying runs also. The yellow line's not your friend down there in that tri-oval.
Definitely not. And you can see Fuller, he's getting a heck of a run there on the high side. He's getting a really good run. He's not quite clear of Chad Coleman, but the 00 Ben gave him a great push there going into the corner, and you can see they're falling back again. Just can't hold that momentum.
Well, this time when they take the line, this time will be 5 to go. And I tell you what, this is about the time we expect to start seeing a lot of people making some really aggressive and maybe even crazy, if you want to call it that, moves, Don.
No, we don't have any overtime here in iRacing, so basically, you know, here in these last closing laps, I mean, we might have like 2 or 3 laps left, but basically, if we get a big wreck, that's going to be the field. That's going to be the race right there, because we're not going to get any overtime. So these guys know that, and they know here at Daytona that the big wreck can happen anytime. You
Watch
see that 24.
He's getting overly aggressive again.
Yes, he is. He's sticking that nose in.
He's going to try and force Ben Kilcrease up into that high spot. That's going to cost Kilcrease, it looks like. I'll tell you what, that 24 is... He's just not making any friends out there right now.
He is just bullying himself into those spots.
Oh, he's in the one he takes out. Have a wreck. Oh, no. Oh, no.
Oh, and
takes
Ben
out
Kilcrease
almost. And we got another wreck up here also.
He almost had it. Ben almost held on to it and got hooked at the last minute. And that's probably going to be the race, unfortunately. We saw that 24 make aggressive moves going 3 wide, and right there, yeah, that cost him.
It absolutely did. I'm not even going to mince words there. That was an overly aggressive move, but that's what you've got to do if you want to win these races at Daytona. You've got to be aggressive. And unfortunately, it didn't just cost him. It cost several other cars a decent finishing spot.
Definitely, definitely. And Ben got the raw end of that deal there. He was just a victim of circumstance. You know, got the 3-wide situation. It looked like the 24. It kind of almost looked like the same thing that happened to Nick Thames there for a little bit. He kind of just went up high really fast, kind of made that maneuver after he went 3 wide. It looked like he was sitting good there for a minute and came back down the track and involved a whole bunch of cars.
Well, actually, I'm looking at that was net code. He got close to 97 and it just shot him straight out to the left. But again, you know, that was an aggressive move that maybe if he hadn't been right there, he wouldn't have gotten the net code. But that's not for us to say. You know, that's part of racing.
That evil, unseen, unknown demon known as netcode that we all fear.
That's right, man. But I'm pretty sure that's probably going to do it for the race right there. We're going to have to let these guys circle around a couple more times, folks, and then it'll be official. So what we're going to do right now is we're probably just going to go ahead and run through our top 10 while we're under caution right here. Yeah, we're going to go ahead and run through I just want to make sure they were taking the start-finish line right there. Lap 98.3 to go. Chad Coleman in first, Trey Edson in second, Justin Fuller third, Lionel Callisto fourth, Michael Keaton in fifth, Dave Comstock sixth, Nick Silver seventh, Mike Kelly eighth, Dwayne Vincent ninth, and Doug Roth in that 43 Petty Blue car brings in our top 10. We're going to take a quick commercial break, folks, and when we get back, we're going to see if they're going to go back to green or not. I doubt it, but we'll be back.
All right, Watson, let's analyze the chemicals in this cigarette smoke. Cadmium?
Check.
Formaldehyde?
Check.
Arsenic?
Sir, isn't arsenic what they used in rat poison?
Yeah, isn't arsenic rat poison?
Oh, what was I thinking, sir? It's not like we're gonna smoke them.
Neither will the rats.
Tobacco is no joke. Cigarette smoke has over 7,000 chemicals. Learn more at thefactsnow.com.
The most realistic online racing sim ever made. This is iRacing. Detailed laser scan tracks, fully dynamic real world cars, and over 50 series to choose from. 6 online world championships offering over $100,000 in annual prizes. This is the original esport racing game. This is iRacing.
My doctor calls me and says, Chris, I have the results of your scan. This is saying you have lung cancer. And that was probably the single most shocking thing anyone's ever told me in my life.
How can I have lung cancer? I'm 39. How can I have lung cancer? I do kick myself almost daily for ever starting smoking. I really do.
Quit your way. Visit tobaccofreeflorida.com.
And we're back at Daytona National Speedway where they're coming around now to take the white flag under caution. Unfortunately, green-white checkers, Don, that's not a part of the iRacing program yet. I'm hoping the boys at iRacing will get that soon, man.
Yeah, definitely, especially for league racing. I hate to see this thing finish under yellow, but I mean, we see Chad Coleman. He dominated this pretty much this whole race, and he's going to look like he's going to be the one that's taking the checkered flag tonight.
Absolutely, and I tell you what, it was quite a show he put out there, holding off the likes of Transervice and Fuller and all those guys. But I tell you what, somebody I want to talk about who's going to finish 5th in this race, somebody who wasn't even supposed to be in the race, Michael Keaton in that 7 car. How about that guy from 43rd starting spot all the way up to 5th?
Definitely, that's an impressive run to get through all this mayhem and wrecks and everything that's going on to start dead last and make his way all the way up to 5th. That's definitely a hard charger right there for tonight.
He absolutely is. I tell you what, if we had a hard charger award, he would definitely be the recipient of that award. I mean, I'm not knocking guys like Nick Silver and Mike Kelly. They started back there, 32nd and 37th, respectively, finishing 7th and 8th, respectively. And then you got Doug Roth on the 43. He started 38th and finished 10th. So give them credit where credit's due. They finished in the top 10, got a good start off to their season, avoiding all the carnage that we had in this race tonight.
Yeah, this race definitely had a lot of carnage. We saw a few expired motors. We saw a big one there, about halfway through or whatever it was, and we saw some guys try some different pit stop strategies. This is a great race tonight. Definitely a very competitive race.
Absolutely, and there weren't as many cautions as I thought there were going to be honest with you. I mean, yes, we had a couple of them that were unfortunate due to blown motors and stuff like that. It wasn't like reckless driving or anything like that. And then, of course, we had the we'll call it netcode failure. I hate netcode, John.
I do too.
I truly, and I mean, I'm one of those guys that used to mock that until I saw it happen to me a couple of times, and it's just crazy. I mean, you're not even like 3 foot away from somebody, and just all of a sudden your car shoots up the track like you hit a brick wall or something. It's insane. But there it is, folks. The checkered flag. They've taken the checkered flag now. The race is official, and then Chad Coleman's your winner. Trey Edson comes home in 2nd. Justin Fuller 3rd, Lionel Callisto 4th, Michael Keaton 5th, David Comstock in 6th, Nick Silver 7th, Mike Kelly 8th, Dwayne Vincent 9th, and Doug Roth in 10th. And while we wait for these guys to circle around, and I'm sure Coleman's probably going to burn it down like we've never seen it burn down before there, Don. What do you think?
Oh, yeah, he definitely had a great race tonight. Even Trey Edson finished in 2nd. He came in tonight with our pole winner and, basically was able to keep it up front, had a good run all night, and still brought it home 2nd. So hats off to him, too.
And it looks like everybody and their brothers down there giving him the congratulatory donuts on the side of his car. Here comes his buddy, the 34 there. Hey, remember me? You ditched me a couple of times, man.
And one thing about, the 7 of Michael Keaton there, that car is absolutely spotless. It's clean. It's got some rubber on it, but there's no bumps. There's no scrapes. There's nothing wrong. He had that car totally clean, starting all the way from the back. That was a great run for him.
It really was. And speaking of Michael Keaton, let's see if we can get a word with him real quick. He's got his helmet off, I'm sure, and he's getting cooled down. But Michael Keaton, this is John up in the booth. You got your ears on, buddy?
Yep. 10-4, John. I got you, man.
Well, buddy, for a guy who wasn't even supposed to race tonight, you brought it home in 5th place, man. Congratulations on a great run.
Yeah, absolutely. Brian Wortman in Disney World this week, and I was able to claw my way into this thing, starting 43rd. And, man, I tell you what, I love this track. I was excited about getting back into it. I was bummed out when I missed out, but thankfully I put that fast qualifying lap down and was able to sneak my way into this thing.
Sneak your way you did. Top 5 was a hell of a way to start your season, Michael. I just wanted to talk to you for a few minutes, congratulate you on that. That's an amazing feat from 43rd to 5th, buddy. Congratulations.
Yeah, thanks very much. And already been practicing a lot at Atlanta, so looking forward to that track. And, yeah, great start of the season here for me. And it was a great race, I think, overall for everyone else. So thanks very much, John.
Yes, sir. We'll see you in that Piedmont Healthcare Toyota Camry next week in Atlanta, Michael. Thank you very much.
Yep. See you guys.
That was Michael Keaton, who had a stellar run tonight. I believe, if I'm not mistaken, that you've caught up with our 3rd place driver, Justin Fuller. Have you not, Don?
Yeah, we had our 3rd place driver, the number 11 car, Justin Fuller. How you doing, Justin? Man, you had a great run tonight. You were being really aggressive there on the top, trying to make that high side work all night. I've drafted with you before. I know you're not afraid to use that high line, and I was hoping you'd make it work for you tonight, but you still brought it home in third. How do you feel about your race tonight, man?
Well, it was good start to the season. Obviously, you want to win, but you can't win them all, and happy to come away with at least the top 5. Got third. I thought we were in a pretty good spot there if it went green to the end. All I needed was a good push, and I could have cleared Chad. But at the end of the day, you can't go on based off the what ifs and just take what you get. And we got third, so we'll take it and we'll go on to Atlanta.
I do got a question for you. You talked about that draft on the high side and, maybe trying to clear Chad Coleman there. It looked like at one point you actually had Coleman cleared, but it looked like you just didn't want to, leave the 0-0 there of Ben Kilcrease. Do you kind of regret that? Do you kind of wish you would have maybe got in front of him there and maybe possibly could have snuck out the win here?
Nope, that was all part of the strategy. The draft with these cup cars is subpar to say the least. This is probably the best cup race I've ever seen on iRacing. But I felt like if I got in front of Chad, the outside line would have just motored on by us, and I didn't want that to happen. So I stayed there and kept the guys in the second row, essentially fighting for air to cool their motors. So we would just stay side by side, and starting to lose my voice a little bit. So I had that planned out that way. Again, I don't know if it really was going to work. I was trying to give Ben some air there at the end, to cool his motor some more. That way he could try to push me, but it just didn't work out. We had that crash at the end, and it is what it is at this point. Like I said, it's a good start to the season. Can't complain about a third.
Yeah, definitely. You had a great run tonight, and I enjoyed watching the race, man. It was very fun to watch you. You got anybody, any teammates, maybe any sponsors, anybody that might be watching that you want to thank or mention out there?
Yeah, I want to thank everybody in the race. It was a great race. A couple little hiccups here and there, but it was a really clean race up front for the most part. I want to thank Transervice for sponsoring the series. I want to thank my teammates Trey, David Comstock. We were also working really well tonight with Scott Stenzel and Chad Coleman. We were all running right up front there at the end, and it was showing. I want to thank everybody at Aftermath Motorsports, GaryMercerTrucking.com or GMercer.com, Gary Mercer Trucking, the shop, everybody at Sim500, and you guys for putting on the broadcast. I watched the replay of Sunday night's race today at work. I plan to do the same tomorrow at work and watch this broadcast.
Yeah, great. You can see how great you did tonight, man. Maybe have some strategy for your next Daytona race.
That's the plan. We'll see. It never hurts a little homework. Pretty sure we're going to have a new package for the next plate track, though, so we'll see what happens.
Definitely. Well, congratulations on your third place finish. That's Justin Fuller in the number 11 car.
Well, I'll tell you what, he did have a really good run tonight. Like you said, I think if he could have maybe gotten just a little bit better of a push from Ben Kilcrease, both of them probably would have had a better finish. Ben, boy, I tell you what, he got muscled by that 24 car just like Bounty did. If I'm not mistaken, you've made your way down to our second place runner of Trey Edson.
Yeah, we got a second place finisher, Mr. Trey Edson in the 40 car. Also our pole winner here for Daytona, but came up one spot short to Chad Coleman. How you feel about your race tonight, Trey?
Man, if you can come away at car in one piece at Daytona, I think it's always been a good night. I haven't really finished many plate races here in Sim500, so to start the season off with a second, I'm pretty happy with it. I might not sound happy, but I am. Just kind of got pinned there on the bottom. Couldn't really jump up to the top lane. And with the temps and the tape we had with this thing, anytime I would get to push Chad, my water and oil would start blinking at me. So I couldn't really stay on him. And so, if I could just ever stay on him and clear that top lane, I was jumping up because I didn't know if the engine was going to make it a few times.
Yeah, so I mean, you seem like you were kind of pretty content on being on the bottom there at the end, but did you think that maybe the high side you guys can be able to get that to work later on in the race, or because we definitely saw that the tape and the temperatures of the motors here were playing a big factor in the drafting.
Yeah, absolutely. I feel like the top actually had an advantage, but like at the end, Fuller had Kilcrease pushing him. I think Kilcrease was fighting the same thing I was fighting, where we couldn't stay pushing. So if Fuller would have ever got somebody with a cooler engine, I think that top line would have rolled us, and three or four of them would have went by. That's why I was kind of determined to, if I could ever get myself clear of Fuller so I could jump to the top, I was moving. Um, First chance I got. And I try to stay loyal to Chad. He's kind of like a satellite teammate to me. But Fuller is a teammate, and Comstock and Stenzel, we were all kind of right there. I had a bunch of teammates around me, and I was going to stick with Chad as long as I could, because we work together all the time. Transervice is on both our cars, so I was trying to stick with him, but then look out for myself. But I could never get clear of Fuller to jump up. So, but like I said, I mean, second place, that's hard to argue with. It's a long season, and I hate to talk points racing at Daytona, but it's a good start to the point season.
Definitely a great start to the point season here with your second place finish. You got anybody else that maybe you haven't mentioned yet? Any other teammates, sponsors, or somebody that might be watching tonight?
Just Transervice. I can't thank them enough. They sponsored the series, and they're on a couple of our cars in the series. They jumped on board a day before we did our Daytona qualifying, which feels like a month ago. um, but yeah, thanks to Glenn and everyone at Transervice. It's looking forward to the season. The cars look sharp, and it's good to put them up front. When they sponsor the series, it's kind of like what Kurt Busch deals with. You try to do good for the title sponsor. So good to get him some publicity, and he's also going to victory lane with Chad.
Yeah, definitely. You had a great run tonight. Look forward to hopefully you can carry that momentum into next week. Congratulations on your second place finish tonight, Trey.
Absolutely, I appreciate it. You guys have a good one.
Thank you. And yeah, that's Trey Etzen there, your pole winner, but second place finisher here at the end of the race.
And I am down in victory lane. Thank you, Don, for that interview. I'm down in victory lane with tonight's winner, a name that we are familiar with, and in the old school graphics and designs victory lane interview process, Chad Coleman. Chad, you won Daytona, buddy.
Yeah, feels good. That race was a lot of fun. Had a lot of help from Trey right there at the end with our teammate, and had a great race with Fuller and everybody that was up there on the outside lane. And we that last caution, I didn't really want to see it. I think it would have been a great race back to the line between a couple of us right there. We could have wound up in the stands too, but either way, that was good. It feels good to win.
Well, I tell you what, it was real impressive watching you out there in front of the pack, man. I commented on it a couple of times. You've got this mastery of the draft going on out there, where you know when to jump up and kind of block a little bit or catch the bump, and when to stay down low and how to side draft. Is that something you've been working on for a while?
It's just a process with iRacing. With before we had the tandems and stuff, this is basically the same way you'd pass then. You basically just play hopscotch, and then the guy gets hot behind you, and then he'll try to do the same thing. So really, when you're leading, really the best thing you can do is just try to keep everybody side by side, if you can. But you can't always do that with pushes and runs coming from different places. But yeah, I mean, it's just a matter of getting hot. Like when you get hot, you basically got to go, because it's hard to cool it down. So whenever we'd get hot and we'd blink, we'd just jump up in front of whoever's leading the top if we had the chance and go back.
I'll tell you what, you made it look easy tonight, man. You led 45 out of the 100 laps. That was an outstanding show you put on. You got anybody you want to thank for your victory tonight?
Yeah, I got to thank Glenn Campbell and Transervice for paying for this deal and everything they do with Sim500 and for the league, the sponsorship of this deal. Thank Joey and everybody. Anybody who has anything to do with Sim500. This deal's a lot of fun, a lot of good competition. And thank JD Laird with JDR Graphics. He painted this car. Looks really good, and he was also spotting and kind of doing a little crew chiefing tonight. So he done a great job doing that. And thank you guys for showing pictures.
Well, Chad, you got off to a great start for this season of victory at Daytona. You head into Atlanta with all the momentum. What are you looking forward to next week, buddy?
Hopefully it's hot and slick.
Yeah, I'm with you on that one. Atlanta is so much fun to watch when the temperatures are up and those tires are greasy. Well, that's our victory lane interview with Chad Coleman, tonight's winner of the Daytona 250, the Transervice Cup Series. The Sim500 guys, they always put on a hell of a show, Don.
Oh, it was a great race tonight, man. Those duels last week were awesome, and then I knew we had great racing in those duels. I knew it'd transfer over to these duel or this race here, and I mean it just shows right there. I mean the guy that got the pole finished second, and the guy that started second finished first, So it's just it shows the competition level in this series.
It absolutely does. I tell you what, look who stumbled into our booth here. The infamous Ben Kilcrease. Ben, fun but rough night for you, look like there, bud.
Well, I said I was going to go to the front. I did. And I ended up about where I started. So
I think you got a little concussed.
Yeah, it was a fun race nonetheless. Hope you guys had a good time up here in the booth. I know I had a good time driving. Our team didn't have the best of nights. We'll regroup and go do some real racing next Monday.
Well, Ben, I mean, you looked great out there, man. You like you said, you worked your way up to the front. You and Mitch and Kevin DeBrown and Chad. I saw the three of y'all out of the four linked up for a while there, working your way on that outside line. But then that 24 kind of pulled some muscle on you there, it looked like.
Yeah, I was kind of leaving just a little bit of an opening there I could swing back and forth to cool my car down. You heard Justin talk about it. I was chatting with him a little bit afterwards. He knew what I was doing, and yeah, it's just one of those things. I just left too big of an opening at too late in the race, and it got filled and kind of went down from there.
Well, hey, it was good to see you out there running so good, man. And what are you looking forward to next week in Atlanta?
Just getting to drive the car, not the draft so much. Drive the car on the track, come down to more who's a better driver, not who can, stay in line and work the lines a little bit better. Not saying that Daytona isn't any skill. It was definitely a job to come from 34th up to 4th, but Atlanta's really going to show who's gonna have the muscle this season.
Well, Ben, we miss you in the booth, but I'm having fun calling races that you're driving in, man. You're looking great out there. Good luck in Atlanta next week, buddy.
Thanks, guys. We look forward to it.
That was our very own Ben Kilcrease after a stellar night. I mean, he did great, Don. No denying that. Just some tough luck at the end there.
Yeah, just a victim of circumstance. 24 got a little aggressive, and Ben, like you said, we heard it before from other drivers and from him. Trying to keep those cars cool tonight was definitely a factor in this race.
Absolutely. Well, let's go a couple of stats here real quick before we call it a night. 100 laps, only 3 cautions done. That's a hell of a lot better than I really expected with this track. Not this group of guys. We know they're good. Sim500 always has a great bunch of guys driving in it, very talented drivers. But this is Daytona, and it's pack racing with fixed setups. So I really thought we'd see more cautions, but we only had 3, and 2 of those were just for blown motors, really.
Yeah, and that's actually, surprising. We figured the one blown motor, we saw a couple guys get involved in that wreck, and the second one, just basically single car thing. Great racing tonight. Like you said, 3 cautions. I mean, really wasn't that bad.
Nah, not at all. I was really impressed with. We had Chad Coleman. He got the most laps led. I don't think they give points for that anymore, unfortunately, but it's something to brag about that you led the most laps at the track, But another car that led a lot of laps, the second most laps actually, was Nick Solomon in that 88 car, but we saw what happened to him, some unfortunate business there, and just, again, another victim of circumstance, but again, a great show from here at Daytona.
Yeah, great show. Like we heard some of the guys say in the interviews, great points night. These guys can carry on maybe some of that momentum next week till race number 2 and see if they can keep it going.
Well, that's going to wrap it up for us here, folks, at the Sim Racing Network. Don't forget, next week we'll be live again Monday night for the Transervice Series. I'm sorry, one more time, Transervice Cup Series. At Atlanta of all. I love Atlanta, Don. It's one of my favorite tracks. We're going to be there next Monday night. You can catch us on 3 separate platforms if you want to. We got the YouTube channel, we've got the Facebook channel or page, if you will, and we've got a Twitch channel. Just do a search for the simracingnetwork.com, and you'll find us on there and tune in. We have several different series we broadcast for, most of them from the Sim500 group. Great bunch of guys. You got any final thoughts there before we head out there, Don?
I'm glad that Daytona is over. I mean, I was looking forward to it, but at the same time, I'm looking forward to Atlanta, looking forward to some non-plate racing, and we can get into the season here and see what these guys can do.
Absolutely. Well, I'll tell you what, That's going to do it for the John, Don, and Double A-Ron show here in Daytona National. I love saying that.
I love
I think
that.
that's going to be our sign in and sign out.
I
from
think
now
so.
on. Well, folks, remember, it can wait. You put that phone down when you're out there driving. Be safe. Love each other. And God bless you all. We'll see you next week. The Sim Racing Network signing off.